It's now my pleasure to bring up to the stage Tim Magill.
Oh, pretty good. My wife always tells me I should take these out of my mouth. Tommy was a 14-year-old overweight kid that kind of disheveled. He had a marginal interest in personal hygiene. Kind of wore oversized T-shirts to hide the fact that he was a little bit overweight. Typically would have a mustard stain from yesterday's hot dog, that kind of stuff. Had disheveled, kind of a mop of hair. And unfortunately, back home at school, he was mercilessly bullied. He was picked on all the time. So I think his parents sent him to the summer camp that my wife and I were running about 20 years ago. And with the thought that maybe he'd build some resilience, he would make some friends. But as far as Tommy was concerned, going to a sleepaway camp meant being potentially with new tormentors for 24/7. So this was definitely a daunting step into the unknown for Tommy. Sophia also went to our summer camp. She was a 16-year-old beauty with curves in all the right places. She was definitely a part of the cool kid crowd and was very worldly beyond her age. Those two worlds didn't mix together with Sophia or Tommy. But our summer camp was kind of an unusual one. My wife and I worked at a number of different camps and outdoor centers, but this particular one had kids from all over the country, and indeed even all over the world. It's kind of a mixing pot. And the cool thing about this particular camp, we'd have trust fund babies down to kids that literally were coming to us on scholarship from homeless shelters. So it was an amazing mixing pot. A good summer camp is a place, unlike Stevens, a good summer camp is a place where kids can get away from that kind of oppression. They can't, I got to tell you, if you look at what Tommy had to deal with in terms of his bullying, Sophia had her own burden because she had to say all the right things. She had to be, as part of the cool kid crowd, she had to have all the right snarky comments to any adult kind of authority figure. She had to wear the right clothes. She had to have the right makeup. And this was, bluntly for her, exhausting. So here you got two kids, and a good summer camp, as I say, is a place where some of that can go away. Kids don't have to have the oppression of either a bully or the oppression really of having to be a cool kid all the time and say all the right things and know how to put down the uncool kids the right way. A good summer camp is a place where a kid can actually reinvent themselves in a very brief period of time. And Tommy longed for that. He wanted to reinvent himself. So we celebrated his success at camp. It was pretty amazing. He learned how to shoot archery and actually excelled at horsemanship and really started even getting some respect from some of the older kids. This particular summer camp, we actually, believe it or not, used to teach rough stock, so bull riding. And Tommy learned how to bull ride, and that gave him some definite respect with some of the cool kids. So he started walking a little taller. He started making some friends, and he actually even took a shower every once in a while. And learned how to clean up his act literally as well as figuratively. But still, they were in separate worlds, right? I mean, even though Sophia and Tommy were in a lot of the same activities throughout the day, they really didn't mix that much. I mean, they definitely have different worlds. So dinner time, we'd have dinner. All the kids would come back after the day's activities, and it was a big hall, about twice the size of this. It was a big cavernous dining hall. And at the end of dinner, we'd always have announcements, and I'd get up and get on a microphone and talk about whatever the next day's activities were going to be. The pool's going to be open from 10 to 2, whatever. At the end of dinner every night before the kids got dismissed, there'd be kind of a lull, a little quiet period while the kids were cleaning up, and it'd get really kind of quiet. It was kind of amazing. Up jumps Tommy on his chair in the dining hall. He pulls away from the table and jumps up on the chair. And Sophia's at the other end of the... Sophia is so out of his league. But he stands up and he points. And he says, Sophia, will you go to the dance with me on Friday? Silence hits this cavernous space with 200 kids. You could have heard a pin drop. And I, as the camp director, watching this tragedy unfold in front of us, right? I'm thinking to myself, have I built this kid up too much? Have we celebrated his successes too much? This is going to now turn into therapy for this child for the rest of his life. And while I'm trying to figure out how to stop this tragedy from unfolding, Sophia quietly scooches her chair back, stands up, and looks across the cavernous space and says, Tommy, I'll go to the dance with you. Silence is still enveloping the space. A kid is sitting, I'm standing there at the microphone, and there's a kid right in front of me, and he goes, no way. It's still this pregnant silence for a minute, and we're all just kind of looking at each other. And then all of a sudden, cheers erupt through this cavernous space. All the kids are cheering. And Tommy is still standing on his chair, pumping the air with his fists, saying, yes. Well, Sophia was good to her word. It was amazing. She walked arm in arm with him to the dance on Friday night. She danced with him all of the dances. On the breaks, they'd, go over for punch and cookies, and she hung out, and they looked like they were old friends, yucking it up. Tommy had a shit-eating grin on his face. But the cool thing was, Sophia, the more endearing thing was, she was smiling the whole time as well. Now, folks, this is not a fairy tale. The next day, they went back to their separate worlds. The cool thing was, though, for the rest of the summer, anytime Sophia saw Tommy across the way, she would wave, and she would sing out, hey, Tommy, in acknowledgement of their shared history. Tommy would kind of wait for it, and then when it happened, he'd get a grin and he would wave back. But it was only after he knew it was safe to do that. And she would do that even though she was walking with the cool kids. So here's the deal. A good summer camp is a place where a kid with a marginal interest in personal hygiene can build the confidence to ask a pretty girl out to a dance. And even better, a pretty girl can have the audacity to say yes. Thank you.
Tim tells the best stories. He really does. Tim Magill, if he could change one thing in the world, he said, it might seem like a cliche, but more kindness. But can kindness ever be a cliche? Who does someone he wishes was still around? My dad. He was calm, confident, and a kind anchor in my life. Now that he's gone, I'm adrift. When questioned about what he'd ask the gods, if he could ask them any question, he said, well, if I'd have known you were going to ask something like that, I would have scheduled the call later in the day and had a drink in my hand. Okay, God, I get that we have free will, but why is there so much suffering in the world? Tim has invested much of his adult career in the outdoor education field, leading nonprofits that offer trauma recovery outdoor adventure camps for impoverished and abused kids, foster families, women survivors of human trafficking, as well as veterans recovering from PTSD. He's held certificates in equine-assisted therapy, overnight horseback wilderness guiding, swiftwater rescue, as well as a high ropes course and zip line management. I mean, this guy's a lot of fun. He's now settled into a more sedate role as a financial businessman for Charlotte Hall Museum. What a lot of people don't know about Tim is he has a hobby, writing short stories.